What's up, softball players? Today I am finally getting to do a video that I've been wanting to do for a while, and we're going to talk about how to throw from different arm angles, from different sort of movement patterns throughout the infield, and what the throwing mechanics should be when you're throwing on the run, when you're throwing quick, when you're just getting rid of the ball, because it's not the same as the old field it, and go overhand. That's sort of the foundation of throwing. But as you watch high-level softball, you watch Major League Baseball, infielders have lots of tasks, right? They have to throw from pretty much any direction of movement, from any different arm angle, whichever one that most efficiently gets the job done is what they're going to use. So we can't put ourselves in this box where we always just catch and throw overhand. That's just not the way the high-level softball and baseball world works. So today I'm going to give you some tips, some pointers. We're going to talk about the mechanics, and I'll show you a little bit of how you're going to throw from different arm angles, moving in different directions, okay? So if you're new to the channel, I put out tons of new softball content. Definitely consider subscribing, and hopefully you'll learn a bunch of stuff from me on how to throw harder, how to feel better, and how to improve your game as a softball player. Okay, first thing I want to cover is the difference between overhand and sidearm throwing. So number one, some players learn to throw sidearms simply because they don't understand how to use their body well, and that's not a good foundation for throwing. So if you're a player who you always naturally threw sidearm because you don't have good throwing mechanics, we still want to fix them. We still want to improve so that you have a good overhand throwing motion. That's sort of a foundation. It's like learning to walk before you run. So every player at high levels, they can throw over top well, but they can also throw down low well. They also can throw from the side well. They can also throw while on the run, but they can't do all those things if they can't first throw up over top. All right, so we have to still focus on improving our mechanics just in general, the foundational over the top throwing motion. Now that's not to say that you can't be like sort of a natural sidearmer, because there are some people like that in both the softball world and baseball world. Everyone's built differently. So anatomically, I've seen lots and lots of players who are just more comfortable and their body produces force better from this angle versus this angle, for example. So it's not, the goal is not to put you into a box, but we should always still have the set of mechanics where I get a one hopper right to me, I have tons of time, and I'm gonna throw over top. We don't want that throw to be like this quick little snap across the diamond necessarily. So understand that the things I'll show you today as far as sidearm and different arm angles, they're not to replace good overhand throwing mechanics. We still wanna have a good standard sort of throw. Okay, so with that being said, let's get one more quick thing out of the way, which is joint angles. So when you throw overhand, when you're throwing over the top, up to here, your elbow angle is going to be typically less than 90 degrees. You'll see some of the hardest throwers in the baseball world directly at 90 degrees. You'll also see guys a little bit less. When you freeze frame softball players, you see the same thing. Most infielders especially are less than 90 degrees, but some are still at 90. It's not the wrong way to do it necessarily, but most infielders are going to start to get more and more inside of 90, especially as they're throwing on the run. This is critical because as you're throwing on the move and you're throwing from different arm angles, you get more and more of your power from this tighter joint angle in your elbow. It is very, very difficult to throw well on the run from a 90-degree angle. Bringing the ball closer into your head and your arm laying back that way is just the anatomically easiest way to produce force when you're not getting as much of it from your hips, or if your hips and your movement is taking you away from your target. So getting this reduced joint angle when we throw is perfectly fine going overhead. It's also perfectly fine and really essential for when we throw sidearm. I don't necessarily endorse you throwing overhand from here, because research on baseball players shows that increases the stress on your shoulder. So again, when you watch high-level throwers throw overhand across the diamond, overhand from the outfield, or off a pitching mound in baseball, you'll still see guys at 90 degrees at their elbow. That's not to say that some guys aren't here, because they are, and we see the same thing with females. It's really just a human movement. It doesn't make a whole lot of difference, male or female, but joint angles are important. And so for our purposes today, we need to be a good amount below 90 to make sidearm throws work. And here's the reason. Your arm kind of acts like a bat. So we have leverages, so the longer this arm is, the longer the lever is. It's like swinging a 50-inch softball bat. So when our angle is shorter, it allows our body just to accelerate this part of the arm, which in turn makes it a lot easier. It's like swinging a shorter bat. So when we throw across the diamond at a lower arm slot, say we're on the run and we have to go here, basically the mechanics look like this. We're gonna field the ball, and obviously if we're moving, it's gonna be very different. We might pick something up out here and just have to get rid of it. We're gonna bring the ball to our center, and then we're gonna draw our elbow back like a bow and arrow. But the key here is that the ball is gonna stay centered around your throwing arm pec. So your right chest muscle right here, it's gonna stay somewhere in this. We will never see the ball get out here when we're gonna throw across the diamond, because this arm becomes a very, very long lever very, very fast. So when we get a ground ball, we're here, and now I draw my elbow back, I keep the ball somewhere in front of my body in this area, and then boom, out it comes. So that's pretty much what we're trying to do as we make these sidearm throws. So if you have to summarize the mechanics of a throw on the run or a sidearm throw, it's again very, very simple. We field the ball, we draw the elbow back, the hand stays in front of the body around the throwing arm pec. So for most of you that's a righty, that's gonna be on your right pec muscle here. And from there, our shoulder blades pull back as far as they can go. That's another critical aspect of getting power. And then from there, our hips turn and our arm goes in the direction that we want it to. So get the ball to your middle, bring it to your chest, elbow pulls back, and doing all those things, you'll see it makes a tighter joint angle than typical. So if we're going over top, you'll have a little more space. When you're doing this, you're pulling back so much that that joint angle tightens, and that's perfectly fine. That's again the way we get power when we don't get as much out of our body. So let's look at some examples. I'm gonna throw a little bit into the net, and you can kind of watch how I go about this. Okay, so I'm gonna make some throws. I just want you to watch. I'm gonna go in slow motion, and you can see how all this works with a lower arm slot. So right now I'll just kind of field it at my center. I'll just move through, and then I'll throw. The things to notice are that I'm bringing the ball to my middle. It basically stays there as my arms separate and my elbow pulls back. My shoulders pinch as far back as they can, and then everything goes from there. And from that position, I can throw any way I want. I can go overhead, and I can also start to throw on the run in the same exact way. The key is that this is pretty much the same no matter what angle you're throwing from. And really it's the same thing I teach if you go to all my other drills. Bring the ball to your middle, the hand will sort of turn down or go slightly down, and then the shoulder blades pull back as the arm goes out. What this glove arm does will vary a lot more when you're on the run. So if I'm moving from left to right, you know, you'll see the arm go back, and this glove arm will be a little lower to clear and to get out of my way. But again, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, I'm still getting to here, and then I go. So again, key takeaways: get to the center, pull back. No matter what angle you're at, it gets very, very easy to make good, strong throws once we're at this sort of bow and arrow position. Okay, so I'm gonna give you another view. You can see me from behind. You'll see the shoulder blades pull back, and I'm gonna start to move around different directions, because remember, there's lots of different throwing tasks for infielders. So you might have to throw from the run directly forward, you might be going to your left, you might be going to your right, you might need to go super far down low. It's always gonna change, and your body is just gonna sort of improvise. But the core of it, again, being here to here with the hand right around the right pec muscle, that's always gonna be there. The shoulder blades have to get pulled back, because if they don't, we're kind of just pushing it like this. When we get back all the way here, that's when we start to get the external rotation to internal rotation, which is the motion of our shoulder, which is the fastest human movement. So to capitalize on the really strong, fast movements that we can produce as human beings, we need to get the shoulder blades back when we're throwing on the run, so that we start to use the external to internal rotation. If we don't get the shoulders back, then we end up just sort of shoving it like a dart across the infield. The last thing I'd mention with all this is that your upper body angle is going to change depending on your arm angle. So what I mean is this: When I'm throwing on the run, I'm gonna stay down to make these throws. So if I'm charging really hard through the infield, I'm gonna field it, and I'm gonna actually feel more comfortable bending over farther to make this throw than I will standing up to make it. You'll see infielders sometimes like sort of hop off one leg. You'll see legs start to come off the ground. Those are things that happen to help the hips clear a little bit easier, because sometimes you'll throw off the wrong foot, go in the wrong direction, and the hips don't work as well as they otherwise would. So coming off the ground, some of those like flourishes you'll see with infielders are sometimes because they're just trying to get their body to release some of the wind up that they get in their hips because they're going the wrong direction or they're folded over or whatever. But this is definitely a thing where as you're moving and you're throwing from lower angles, being folded over is an advantageous thing. We're still in that same position, I'm just lower, but if I'm on the run, being down here actually helps me get my chest closed, which means I'm keeping my chest away from my target so I'm not just darting it. There's still a mechanism of I'm running towards you and I'm throwing this way, so I sort of start to rotate away and I start to close my chest off so that then I can open back up and get some power from my hips and my core. So don't be afraid if you see players sort of staying at a lower angle to make those throws, and sometimes depending on how hard they're running and how quickly they field the ball and how fast they have to get rid of it, their arm angle will get lower and they'll actually potentially lower their body even when they would have time to be higher up. Again, your body will start to figure out the most efficient way to do it, and that's a really critical component to understand, that once you have sort of the base mechanics, which are pretty much this, your body's going to start to figure out what the best way to do it is. But you'll quickly figure out if you're here, you have this long arm, it doesn't work very well throwing from different angles, from different running speeds to different targets around the infield. So don't be afraid to let the upper body sort of angle lower to make one of these throws. It's always going to sort of match. So if I'm going to throw at a lower arm angle, I'm going to bend over more as I come up. If I'm going to throw at a higher angle, I'll stay there. But again, this is a really important throwing task. So for all players, we have to get out of the box some point of just fielding, setting our feet, and throwing overhand. We'll have to just get the ball and get rid of it. And so understanding the throwing mechanics with all that stuff, I think is really, really critical. And it's something I've found fun as a longtime pitching guy, helping our softball and baseball players with, because it's still throwing and your body still figures out the most efficient way to do it when you give it the proper fundamentals and foundation of how we actually go about throwing a ball from a different angle, from a different direction. All right. So hopefully this video helped. Like I said, I thought this was a fun topic to kind of cover because I don't see much of it out there on the internet, and I think it's kind of misunderstood, but it's one of those things that every player at some point has to get good at. So why not give you a little bit of a jump start on learning and teaching the skills. So if you enjoyed this video, share it with a friend, hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel. I'd greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.